Good morning, channel friends. Today we're doing a restyling that's right up our alley. Right, Franco? He chose the wallpaper, but I completely agree with him. I also like it in other shades, green and blue, but this one is very eye-catching. It's a unique wallpaper. It was created by the king of wallpapers, William Morris, and this was one of the last designs he made, created in 1894. This design, this sketch was reworked by Morris and Company, the company that still produces his wallpapers today, and it's truly beautiful. It's printed on a non-woven fabric that makes it velvety. It looks like cloth when applied to the wall or furniture, and it's our common thread for today's restyling. This sideboard is nice. Even though it's not old, it's not over 100 years old. What do you think, Franco? We can go ahead without feeling guilty and paint it however we want. It will be the perfect frame for our wallpaper. Let's get started. Let's begin, even though I've already started, because actually we did a really great explanation, one of those wonderfully long-winded ones, as Franco always says, in my own personal way. But I don't know why today our camera played some truly nasty tricks on us, and it's not even Monday yet. So, I'm going to give you this explanation for the second time. I'm using the King brush and painting everything with Nuit Parisienne, because I want this wallpaper to really stand out. Nuit Parisienne is absolutely perfect for this kind of application. This beautiful big piece of furniture has two different types of wood. Here it's shinier, and over there it's a bit rougher. So what do? With the King, I get a nice, more textured finish. Be careful, because this is an extra covering color, so the first coat should be pure. We've done the ABA step. Always do it, and let it dry. So, with a nice, thick brushstroke like the one of the King brush, I get coverage with just one coat. With the second coat, I even everything out, but there will definitely be some spots where the surface is a bit rougher, so I don't even need a real second coat. One good full coat and a few touch-ups are enough. But again, it always depends on the condition of the surface. Now, Franco, you're already showing the finished piece, even though we've just started. That's just how it goes today. Second coat. Franco missed the first one, right, Franco? The double brush. Remember the double brush? This video is supposed to make you laugh. That's how it is today. A pointed brush, which I used earlier but isn't here, you dip it in, load up the inner reservoir, because brushes are thick as they have a reservoir. When you drain it, gently stroke it, don't press, and the paint stays inside. With this brush, we need to be careful and work into spots with grooves. But when I show you this brush, it's not to sell you extra brush. I mean, just know that's not my intention. My goal is to have you finish the day with a hand that can still do other things. If you strain your wrist too much, you'll be too tired. When you have maybe a whole bedroom to do, a living room, it is also important not to get tired. With this pointed brush that goes into the grooves, I do the outline. Then I cross the brush stroke. First one, horizontally. And then I smooth it out well, following the wood vertically. This is the perfect method to get a nice, smooth, and velvety finish. Be careful. Make sure to go over the corners with a dry brush because I might have made some drips. So always remember, when Elisa recommends 2 brushes for a restyling project, it's not to sell you 2, but because that way I'm looking out for you and the restyling turns out better. I'll keep going. Franco, did you save it? Good job. On this beautiful furniture, a pickling is a must, Not so much for the technique, but because the wood in some spots is really lovely. In fact, I'm sure some of you would have suggested I leave the top as raw wood. I didn't want to leave it raw because I want the full color, but to bring out the raw wood with the sander. I put 320 grit sandpaper on my sander. This special microperforated sandpaper is 100% absorbent, avoiding all fumes and dust. My sander is connected to the vacuum, so they start together, preventing dust. Using ultrafine, super smooth 320 grit sandpaper, I won't damage the wood or ruin the black finish. Dark colors show rubbing or scratching, so they need to be protected, and this effect will turn out great. So, vacuum on, and let's get started. With a damp cloth, we remove the dust because it's dulled, and let's see what comes out. You can see the magic of the black wood. It stays black, pure and deep, but you can still glimpse the wood grain. For me, this is real luxury, being able to see the wood grain because it's real wood, but also having the power and strength of the black. Obviously, now that it's drying, you can see it goes back to being lighter, but as soon as we protect it with the matte coating, it'll become beautiful and vibrant again, and the wood grain will show. Also, the 320 grit sandpaper has given it an incredible softness, a velvety feel. When you run your hand over it, it feels just like a baby's skin. I'm applying a nice coat of matte protective coating all over. Look how lucky I am this shelf from the plate rack can even be pulled out. I only screw it back in at the end so I can work on it easily without problems. Look how beautiful it is. Now just like that I put it back in. Voila, a quick touch up and I keep going. I use the matte coating because you can't see it. When it dries, it looks like it's not there, as there is no coating at all, not glossy, not satin. It's truly invisible. It'll look like magic paint. Look how beautiful the color is now that it's protected. Of course it's wet, so you still see a bit of shine. But once it dries, it becomes completely matte. I apply the protective coat everywhere except where I'll put the wallpaper. I applied a black coat here too, as the surface was shiny. I didn't want issues later with the wallpaper glue. So now I'm applying the matte protective coating everywhere except where I'll be putting the wallpaper. I keep using the King brush as before. Now it's time to put up the wallpaper. When choosing, always calculate properly, accounting for waste. Here it's written 76 centimeters, so what does that mean? It means that from the moment you see this pattern, another 76 centimeters will pass before you see it again. So if you need to match up the wallpaper, there will be some waste, which will be about 76 centimeters. Of course, the amount of waste also changes depending on your furniture and your wall, because the more repositioning you have to do, the more wallpaper you waste. The fewer repositionings you have to do, the less you waste. For example, this roll is 52 centimeters wide, and to cover the entire area of this shelving unit, unfortunately, I have to do 3 repositionings. So 1, 2, and 3. What does this mean? It means that if I have a 1 meter wide wallpaper roll, I would only need to reposition it twice, not 3 times.
It's nice to have wallpaper like this, but remember to make your work easier. The wider the paper, the fewer the repositionings.
So it will be easier. I'll cut all the pieces of wallpaper beforehand, as these shells can't be removed, preventing a single back panel application. We have to do this gluing, then start again. Second gluing, and again, third gluing. Today I'll have to put up 9 pieces of wallpaper.
So the advice I can give you is to apply the wallpaper by unscrewing the back panel.
So if you have a backdrop that's all one piece, do this. Unscrew it, lay it out flat. If you don't have a big enough surface, even the floor is fine, and that's where you make it stick. Another tip. Before you start, cut wallpaper pieces even if you're putting it on a wall.
If you need to do a wall, take the wallpaper, measure the placement, lay the first strip on the floor.
After that, you measure the second placement where it needs to end. Figure it out and lay it on the floor.
With all pieces cut, sticking them on will be less stressful. Why do I say this? I'm not talking about professionals. They may do it every day, and it's easy for them. Most of us might only do it twice in our lives. To avoid problems or running out of wallpaper, cut it beforehand. If you're short due to waste, you're still in time and don't start until you have everything. Another thing. The trick to doing a good job is using the right glue. Glue isn't something you just make and stick on right away. It needs reaction time to set. It has to become sticky. I made this one a few minutes ago. Half an hour ago, it has this consistency. Not all wallpaper glues are the same. There are some very heavy wallpapers, like vinyl, even 1 by 3 meters, that are heavier and need stronger glue, which we sell. We sell everything on the Elisa Home website or through Magic Paint retailers, so that includes the right glues for every type of wallpaper. Fabric or, in this case, non-woven paper are easy to work with. They're not heavy materials, so a regular glue is just fine. In this case, I used Saratoga wallpaper glue, which works perfectly, and I've already diluted it. This way, it has the perfect consistency. There are a ton of videos with me and Emma where we show you how to make wallpaper glue. It's really easy, super cheap, but here's a tip. Don't make the whole batch at once. Don't use the entire packet. Just make a little at a time in a small bowl. That way you don't waste any, and you can just make it fresh whenever you need it. It's simply a powder you dissolve in water, super easy. Now I'm going to start by cutting the pieces. First, second, third. I'll show you how they look, and we'll keep going. Unfortunately, my shelf already cuts off at 42.5, but I'm not being super precise. I cut at 43 so I can follow these pieces of furniture, which often aren't perfectly straight. I flip wallpaper upside down, white side, and at 43, I make the first mark, 1 here and 1 here. I draw a nice line or go directly with the cutter. It's up to you. Please remember, if you use a cutter, you must be careful and have a very sharp blade. Voila! My first wallpaper piece is cut, and you can already see its beauty. Now I'll cut the rest and then start gluing them with you. When wallpapering, I usually keep cotton gloves nearby. They help me feel for glue bubbles and avoid damaging the wallpaper. A brush for spreading glue, a cloth to dry hands or clean up, and various spatulas, of course. It depends on your furniture's size. I also keep a large brush nearby to smooth wallpaper once glue is applied, but you can decide. There are many ways to get the best result. I'll glue the first, second, and third pieces, then reapply these 3 wallpaper sections. Glue more or less up to here, on the first piece where I need to put the wallpaper.
When you have a material like wood that absorbs a lot, remember it's always good to use a bit more glue. Don't hesitate to be quite generous with the application.
Now I'm spreading it over 3 sections, and when I go the wallpaper on, if needed, I'll add a little more. Glue applied, the wood absorbed. Now I'll lay the wallpaper. Remember, it's non-woven, it absorbs, but not much.
The amount of glue should always be adjusted based on the thickness and the type of wallpaper. Now I can easily go to this corner because it's been measured. This particular corner lines up perfectly with this one, and from here I can proceed.
I wasn't super precise. In fact, I left these extra couple of precious millimeters, which significantly help me be more accurate now, both at the right corner here and at the very bottom edge. With the glove, I can effectively press the wallpaper down very well without causing any damage to it. And if you want to be even gentler, you simply need to put a soft cloth over your spatula, and when you carefully push out the excess glue, the wallpaper will stay perfectly stuck in place. Remember that there shouldn't be any bubbles, otherwise they would compromise the hold, the adhesion, and even the smoothness of the wallpaper. So I start from the center and move outward. Here too, I start from here and rub toward the bottom. If you happen to get some glue on the wallpaper, you can remove it with a damp cloth. It won't stain because it's designed specifically for this. Here, I will then carefully trim the excess once it's completely dry, cutting it neatly and precisely. Now I'll continue and apply the second piece of wallpaper. Second piece. I make sure to get right into the corner, press everything down well, and use my trusty spatula to remove any air bubbles. This step is extremely important because if there are air bubbles, the wallpaper won't dry properly, and over time it could start to peel off. Repositioning the wallpaper. This is one of the most important parts. That's why, when I tell you to cut the wallpaper beforehand, it's not just to avoid waste, but also to make sure you already have the right cut. This way, you can slowly and gently move closer, remeasure, and make sure the pattern lines up perfectly. There shouldn't be any step when you are joining wallpaper pieces. It's essential that, when you run your finger over it, you don't feel any step, and it's also crucial to seal the seam of the wallpaper with glue, like this. I go over it, check, and seal. I'm also very careful when I do this because often the furniture isn't straight. So a bit more glue, I go over the seam again, which will definitely close up as it dries. There you go. Don't let yourself get fooled because the glue pulls. So sometimes it creates wrinkles that, once it dries, will disappear and won't be there anymore. I've successfully made the joining part stick firmly in place, and now, with my spatula, I'm carefully going to work on the remaining sections of the wallpaper. I patiently wait for the wallpaper to set and adhere a little more firmly, and then, in this area as well, I push out any remaining air bubbles. Now I continue with the second piece. Nice, huh? It's beautiful, but there's a surprise. Earlier, when I put the cabinet on its feet, I loved the depth of the black underneath, but wanted to try wallpaper. Having 2 leftover pieces from repositioning it multiple times, the third one I used a little piece. I hoped they'd cover the 2 panels. Luckily, they did, wasting very little. Optimizing is always my mantra. I never waste anything. I wouldn't have wasted it. Maybe I would have put it in the drawers, but why hide something so beautiful? I also wanted the Morris tulip closed on one side and open on the other, and that's exactly how it turned out.
But since it's late, it's 8 p.m., we wanted to make things more complicated by adding softness that would give it a finished look. So we added this trim detail around it that picks up the tulip colors.
And we still weren't satisfied. So to give it a bit more edge, a bit of bite, we added some old studs. They're old because they were recovered from an old armchair, so nothing goes to waste. They're actually the original color because they are so old, they're over 100 years old. So this gem adds a touch of elegance to the whole piece. Now we'll set this beautiful piece of furniture and show you how it looks in a setting that could resemble a home. This restyling is finished too, and honestly, there's little to do here. We don't need to decorate too much. The wallpaper speaks for itself, and these beautiful shapes work well. We applied a black patina with Nuit Parisienne, a black that's not truly black, remember, and matched it with the only dark, black part of this wallpaper, which, I remind you, is a very old wallpaper reworked to be more contemporary. I'm lucky to have Morris & Company collection, and I get incredible inspiration. I'd really love to show you the catalogue and to make furniture with a different wallpaper every day. It's spectacular. Look at tones, colors.
Morris, back in 1900, when he created this line, didn't imagine combining these colors. But today, we can make it contemporary by putting it on our furniture, not only on our walls. Remember that at Magic Paint retailers, you can buy Morris & Co. & Son wallpapers by the meter. Do you need 4 meters to cover your sideboard?
Just buy 4 meters. You'll save a lot. Remember that Magic Paint is available only from Magic Paint retailers on magicpaint.it, not at Brico or other paint sellers. And remember, the only Italian website that sells Magic Paint is elisahome.com. You won't find it on other sites. Now maybe you can let me know in the comments if you like it. I think you will. Goodbye.